In today's episode, money and intelligence has no correlation. Co-worker makes massive error, called client to try to fix, client thinks he knows more than me. Manager doing everything to avoid taking an escalation. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Money and intelligence has no correlation. Info: I work in a tech support call center for a significant amount of the banks in my country. The same company handles all the IT for multiple banks, and I work for that company. My calls mostly involve the functions of our online banking portal. Today, I got a call from a customer, we'll call him C. He had already typed his SSN into the phone, so I could see his profile information. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The most noticeable thing was that his profile type was 1, which is reserved for customers of wealth, and the limit on how much he could transfer in a day was the highest possible option. This alone doesn't really tell me anything about what the call will be about. The call begins. M. Tech Support, GLBMQP speaking. What can I help you with? C. Shouting, when are you gonna fix it? M. I'm sorry to hear you're having troubles, what is your issue? C. It's so confusing, only academics could ever understand it. And they made it like this on purpose. If only academics can understand it, they have an excuse to hire more academics. M. Which system or function is it you're having issues with? C. I'm just trying to look at my account like I have a right to. And I have to spend 20 to 30 minutes each day just figuring out how it works. It's a piece of sh*t, and you have no right to make something as complicated as this **t. I went on for some time trying to figure out what his issue was, while he continued to aggressively complain and blame it on academics, who he still believed had intentionally rigged the system to make it incomprehensible. During this rant, he also spouted a lot of very inappropriate things about people with autism. Eventually, I figure out what his issue is. When you click on one of your accounts in our system, you see an overview of the transfers and payments, extremely standard for banks in Denmark, and I imagine it's not much different in other countries. We have a feature you can toggle on or off, where you can see what the account total was after each transaction. It's very simple. You can see in big numbers the account that was withdrawn or deposited, and in slightly smaller numbers underneath you can see the account balance after the transaction. After I realized that this was what he was upset about, I tried to explain how it worked. C. It's due to this feature in the banking portal. If you don't like it, you can click on this button to have it removed. If you want it turned on, the way to read it is that the smaller number is the amount in the account immediately after you've made a transfer. C. How does that make sense? You just need to fix this. I don't want TO learn how it works because I'll forget it, and I'll have TO spend 20 minutes learning how it works each time I log on. I just need to be able to see how much money there was in the account before the transfer. M. If you want to know how much money there was in the account before the transfer, you have two options. You can add the amount that was transferred to the amount there was in the account after the transfer. You could also look at the amount that was in the account after the previous transfer, which would be the small number underneath the transfer right below the transfer you're looking at. Side note, I don't blame him for not knowing how the system works. No one knows things until they've had it explained. But knowing how simply it works, no adult should be confused about it. C. I shouldn't need to have a calculator on me to look at my account. And why do I need to look at 4 lines just to see how much money is in my account? Listen up here, I make transfers of several millions on a regular basis, and I can't figure out how this works. Do you think anyone has a chance at figuring this out? At least 70% of Denmark has no chance at this. This must be the only thing you're getting calls about. In fact, of the several thousands of calls I've taken, he is the only person to ever have any issue with that feature at all. M. I'm sorry you've struggled with this feature. It's perfectly fine that you don't want to calculate your earlier account balance yourself. You don't need to look at multiple lines to determine your earlier account balance. All you need to do is look at the balance after your previous transfer, which is the small number below the transfer beneath the one you're looking at now. C. It's morally bankrupt that you'd make something this complicated, and it's a scam. Okay, I'll go to my local bank and demand they fix the system. You need to understand, I make transfers of multiple millions, and I don't get this. It's impossible. M. Unfortunately, your banker wouldn't be able to change the banking portal. If you're really unsatisfied with this feature, you are of course able to toggle it off. But there's nothing magic or strange about it. Beneath each transfer you can see the amount that was in your account immediately after the transfer. He then continued to scream about how impossible and unfair the system was for a long time, with me gently explaining how the system works, and how he could get the things he was looking for. This went on for 35 minutes, and honestly there's no point in writing out any more dialogue, because it's essentially the same over and over from this point on. Eventually it ended with, C. Thanks for. Well, you didn't help me, so I won't thank you. M. Have a lovely day, bye. Although I think the system is very intuitive, there's no shame in not getting it when looking at it. However, and I hesitate to call people dumb or smart, him repeatedly not getting it after I explained it to him, in a myriad of simple ways, really speaks to him being a complete idiot. But what's so much worse than this, was his outright refusal to listen, and to even entertain the thought, that the system wasn't broken, and that he simply needed to understand it. And the cherry on top of the **T sandwich, that was the combination of his stupidity and willful ignorance, was his absolute arrogance throughout the call. His insistence that he was somehow better than other people because he had money, and that they must also have the same problem. And his belief that he was special, and that the system should be changed to fit him, rather than him putting in the absolute minimal effort to get the system. His ableist slurs and his conspiracy theories didn't exactly make the situation more pleasant either. I think of myself as being very good at letting go of calls, and not being affected by them after they've finished, but oh boy, this absolute nightmare of an arrogant, rich, idiotic hole just stayed on my mind. Co-worker makes massive error, called client to try to fix, client thinks he knows more than me. I work for a travel agency that operates like a call center, and is associated with a bank. A few days ago, a client asked me to place flights on hold, and I tell him he needs to call back to book when he's ready, as the airline would only allow a hold for 48 hours maximum, pretty generous compared to the 24-hour hold. 48 hours later, I get a system message saying flights were to set to auto-cancel at midnight unless purchased. I'm used to seeing that, so I don't think anything of it at first, until I see a co-worker, CW, on the morning shift had applied the client's credit card points to the booking, but did not send the flights over to our ticketing team to issue tickets. The co-worker did not write any notes at all, which means I have now to call the client and confirm he wanted to purchase the flights, and of course, he was out of office. I also noticed CW failed to reprice the flights, so that it reflects the current fare. While we can hold flights, we are not able to guarantee the price until the client authorizes it and tickets are issued. If the client calls back even 8 hours later, we price it again, and make sure what we quoted is valid or tell them what the new fare is. I call the client, we'll call him Bob, and he is understandably irritated at me calling him in the evening. Me, I apologize for the late call, Bob, but I placed flights on hold for you a couple days ago, and I was following up. Were you wanting to buy the tickets? Bob, yeah, I already called this morning and spoke to CW, and it's been taken care of. Me, I unfortunately didn't see any notes from CW. The reason why I'm reaching out is because the flights are still on hold and tickets haven't been issued. Bob, what do you mean? I already got my seats and you emailed me. Me, I do see that, but what I'm saying is that it did not get sent to our ticketing team by CW for you to actually have tickets for your flights. I can get it fixed, but I'll need to confirm the price dash. Bob, getting more annoyed, why are we doing this again? CW already told me. Me, he quoted you the price I quoted you, 48 hours ago. The current fare per person for your flights is $500 higher. Bob, that's ridiculous. The price was lower than that. I'm very sorry about this, and because of the fare difference and CW not having sent this to our ticketing team when you called 12 hours ago, I can send to the ticketing team now at the current price, and have a case open to review and credit the fare difference due to it not being advised to you properly. Not ideal, but that's what we do in situations like this. Bob, CW applied my points, based on the old fare, so not the correct amount of points. I got my itinerary. What is the problem? Tickets were never issued for the flights and the fare CW quoted is incorrect. Bob, yes they were already ticketed, they aren't. I don't need to deal with this *T right now, stop bothering me, and just do whatever you need to do. Hangs up. He was rightfully annoyed, but he only made matters worse by arguing that I was wrong. Why would I bother you if everything was all taken care of? If I was a worse person, I would have just notated that he hung up on me, moved on, and let him find out on his travel date that he has no flight ticket, and the citation would go to CW. A supervisor pulled the call, and it was revealed CW made major errors. Didn't recap the flight information. Didn't ask for the client's passport information since it was an international itinerary. Didn't reprice the itinerary to correctly advise the current fare, just used my expired fare quote. Didn't send the itinerary to be ticketed so his entire trip was hours away from being cancelled. Left 0 notes for me or anybody else to go off of. I was able to get special airline approval to honor the original fare, and sent it back to ticketing, but CW is still likely to be cited because had I not caught the error and called Bob when I did, his flights would have been cancelled out, and he might not have known until it was too late. Manager doing everything to avoid taking an escalation. I had an escalation yesterday. It was over a situation which comes up often at my company, and everyone there has had someone escalate over this at some point. Basically, the person cancels their policy and they're on autopay, but they've called like one day before their due date, so the autopay process has already started, so there's no way for us to stop it, even with canceling the policy. The payment will still go through and the customer will have to either wait for the refund or can maybe contact their bank to have it blocked. So I had a lady call in, and when I told her it couldn't be stopped, she goes off. The last person I spoke with said it could be. I can't afford to have this payment come out. I explained there's nothing we can do and she can contact her bank. This is ridiculous, let me talk to a manager. I can get one for you, ma'am, but just to set clear expectations, a manager is unable to stop the payment too. There is no one here who can. It's an automated process through billing, and it's out of our hands. Well, let me talk to someone in billing then. Not possible, ma'am. Okay, well, I used to work in customer service, and I know that you can ask for the manager, and they can override things that you can't, so just get me the manager. Sigh. I reach out to my manager and surprisingly she's available. I told her what's going on. Okay, so why did she want a manager? Does she want to log a complaint, or does she think I can stop the payment? Both? She thinks a manager can stop it. Right, which we can't. Yes, I'm aware of this. I've worked here almost 4 years. I tell her the customer simply wants a manager because she won't listen to me. It happens. Okay, well, I'll log into my phone system, but you can try to nicely tell her that there's no one here who can stop her payment. Blah blah blah. Lady, you don't think I already tried all that? I hate how managers act like every call can be de-escalated because they just don't want to do their jobs and get on the phone for an escalation. I've explained this situation to customers hundreds of times, and there's always someone who thinks a manager can override it when they can't. Some people just need to hear no from a manager to believe it. Managers need to remember that sometimes the person just wants a manager no matter what, and nothing we say will change that. It doesn't mean we've done something wrong. Giving us these useless tips to help us de-escalate when we've already done everything we can, and we know we're getting nowhere, makes things more stressful on us.